911 dispatchers, what's the dumbest emergency call you've ever gotten? One paramedic said a 19-year-old guy called an ambulance because his hand went numb after playing Xbox for too long. My little sister once called 911 because her tiny pet gecko got sucked into the bathtub drain. The poor kid just wanted to give him a bath. His name was Steve. Crying hysterically, she told the operator, "Steve is drowning. He got sucked into the pipe." By the time everyone realized Steve was a gecko, police officers and firefighters were already on their way to our house. She was only 6 years old at the time. I still tease her about it. But honestly, poor Steve. My mom works as a 911 dispatcher. Sometimes she gets unbelievably stupid calls. A few years ago, there was a massive car accident that killed several people. Naturally, traffic backed up for miles, while emergency crews were dealing with the crash. A woman called 911 demanding a police escort home because she was stuck in traffic. She literally said, "Why the hell should I sit in this traffic? I need to get home." Ma'am, people literally died. I think you'll survive missing the beginning of your favorite TV show. And before anyone asks, no, she didn't have a medical emergency, unless you count narcissism. I'm a nurse working on a 24-hour medical hotline. My job is figuring out whether someone actually needs emergency medical help. One call immediately comes to mind. A pregnant woman called me, she was over 30 weeks along, asking why her doctor told her to avoid sex for the rest of her pregnancy. After checking her chart and seeing she'd already had premature contractions, I explained, "Sexual activity can trigger contractions, so your doctor wants the baby to stay inside as long as possible." There was a pause, then she asked, "But how is the baby supposed to eat?" I said, "Ma'am, can you repeat that?" And she goes, "If we stop having sex, how will the baby get fed?" She genuinely believed the baby survived off her boyfriend's semen, and that if they stopped having sex, the baby would literally starve to death. When I tried explaining the umbilical cord, she didn't believe me, so eventually I asked, "Then how do single mothers keep their babies alive?" After about a full minute of silence, she quietly thanked me. Then right before hanging up, I heard her scream her boyfriend's name across the room. Apparently, this guy convinced her of the whole thing just to keep having sex. Honestly, I don't know whether I feel worse for him or the kid growing up in that family. My mom used to work as a 911 dispatcher. When she first got the job, she explained to my little brother that she now worked where people call when they dial 911. The very next day, he called 911 because he wanted to tell her how his day went. I'm not a dispatcher, but my ex once called 911 because he thought the sunrise was a wildfire. He worked late-night shifts and usually got home around 2 a.m. But one night he got out several hours later than usual, so he sees this massive orange glow over the mountains and panics. "Hello, I'd like to report a fire," the operator asks where. He describes the mountainside south of town. Then suddenly he goes, "Oh my God, it's getting bigger." The dispatcher tries calming him down while sending units. Meanwhile, he's freaking out. "The entire mountain is glowing. Why am I the only one seeing this?" Then there's silence, and suddenly, "Wait," the operator says, "Sir?" And he goes, "I'm so sorry. I normally never leave work this late." That's the sunrise. No wildfire, just the sun coming up. The dispatcher politely canceled the call while my ex died from embarrassment. One ER doctor said they got called at 3 in the morning because a guy picked at a wart, saw blood, panicked, and called 911. That was the entire emergency. My mom works as a 911 operator. One time, a teenage girl called in complete panic because a squirrel was sitting on a telephone pole outside her school and wouldn't come down. Apparently, she considered that an emergency. A dispatcher once got a call from a guy screaming that he was being attacked. In reality, police officers were actively arresting him because he'd been throwing pizza at random people. You could literally hear an officer in the background saying, "Pray this dispatcher doesn't press charges too." Another drunk woman once called 911 because she forgot the password to her phone. Honestly, I accidentally did something similar as a kid. I locked myself out of my phone after entering the wrong password too many times. The only button left on the screen was emergency call, so my tiny child brain assumed emergency services would help me reset my password. Instead, I heard, 911, what's your emergency? I panicked immediately. Wait, oh God, I didn't know, I'm sorry. Thankfully, the operator laughed. One dispatcher said, if a call starts with I swear I'm not crazy, prepare yourself. One guy called saying his roommates were transforming into giant crabs inside cocoon-like shells. Turns out he was having a massive drug-induced hallucination. A prosecutor shared a story about a college student who called 911 because someone stole the microwave from his dorm lounge. The dispatcher asked, so, you called emergency services because somebody stole a microwave? The student replied, but I'm really hungry. He demanded police officers investigate the missing microwave immediately. They did send officers eventually, but only to charge him for abusing emergency services. And somehow this genius still pleaded not guilty in court. The jury convicted him almost immediately. One EMT said they got called at 2 a.m. because a girl's legs were turning blue. Turns out she'd spent the entire night partying in brand new blue jeans. The dye rubbed off onto her skin. That was the emergency. Another hospital worker said a guy suffered burns over 60% of his body because he tried refilling a lawnmower with gasoline while smoking a cigarette. Simultaneously tragic and unbelievably stupid. One dispatcher who worked 15 years in 911 said people called emergency services to ask how to smoke brisket properly. Parking ticket information help opening a stuck trunk, and once, just to wish him Merry Christmas at 3 a.m. because he sounded lonely. He also said people sometimes call 911 simply because they're lonely and want someone to talk to, which honestly might be the saddest one of all. One caller reported suspicious men entering their neighbor's house while the neighbors were away on vacation. But the caller waited 4 days before reporting it. By then, the burglars had completely emptied the house. The dispatcher said, if something genuinely feels suspicious, just call. Don't wait. One woman repeatedly called 911 demanding police stop a man driving with one leg hanging out his car window. The dispatcher explained several times, ma'am, that's not illegal. She got angry, hung up, then called 911 again, hoping another dispatcher would arrest him. She got the same dispatcher again. Eventually, a sheriff's deputy warned her she'd be fined for abusing emergency services. A babysitter once told a story about a 4-year-old who called 911 saying, I cut my finger. The dispatcher calmly asked, is your mom nearby? The kid replied, yes, but she saw the blood and passed out. Turns out the child got a tiny paper cut, and the mother fainted at the sight of one drop of blood, smashed her head, and knocked herself unconscious. Ironically, the child was completely fine. And finally, one dispatcher got a call from a confused elderly woman who said, my washing machine is telling me to declare bankruptcy. Apparently, the machine displayed an error code saying, debt. She thought the appliance was giving her financial advice.